In what ways or have you been most pleased with the progression of the defense?
Uh, just overall, I think responsibility-wise, assignment, execution, individual improvement.
You're going to come along naming team captains here pretty soon. Jake Waters, what is it about him that you've seen or noticed most about him that is making him a good leader for this group?
Well, awareness, confidence and awareness. I think confident in having been in the system for a period of time now. Awareness that it's important that he step into that role in a positive and demanding way.
Coach, you probably get this question every year, but maybe pertaining specifically with this team and this year, is there anything in particular that you'd like to see from the team, maybe perhaps the offense specifically on Saturday?
Not necessarily on, yes, I guess so, but it would be collective across the board. It would be, to go back, to be disciplined enough not to make the foolish mistakes, whether it's assignment errors, turning the ball over, getting penalized, those types of things, and that take discipline and a conscious effort to do things right. I think that'd be number one. And the rest of it, stay healthy and play really hard.
And sticking with offense, have you been able to clarify some things as far as the running back position is concerned?
I don't know. What is that?
Oh, jeez. Sorry.
Yeah, oh. If I'd have known that's where it's come from, I'd have answered. Probably heard something different with that. A little strange. Question again?
Just clarity on the running back position at all?
Not really. It's still waiting for somebody to rise, above others, so to speak.
Coach, going back to Jake a little bit, in what ways do you think he's improved as a player at this point as to compared to where he was last year heading into his first spring game with Kansas State?
Well, he just understands things a lot better. He has a greater awareness of the youngsters that he plays with, his offensive line, his wide receivers, etc. He's, as I mentioned a moment ago, he's gained more confidence, and probably just because of going through the process that he went through, some growing pains. And also, his leadership has improved because of, the aforementioned, I think.
Can you, Coach, evaluate the secondary? We've asked about the cornerbacks every week, but in addition to that, maybe where the safeties are right now?
Well, I think, I think the two have somewhat ingrained themselves into, the starting roles as we speak right now. I mean, that's who will start on or be with the number ones on Saturday, and they've earned that right, both of them. I think they're playing well. They're playing with some consistency, and they're gaining even greater and greater confidence in their ability because of the experience that they're having, and a lot of repetition. Biggest concerns obviously would be how the youngsters, in the 2 and 3 spots develop, because we need the depth back there, and probably the next two in line would come from probably Travis Green and Sean Newland, and maybe Weston Hebert probably would be the 3 beneath the 2 quote-unquote starters. So.
And you mentioned last week at corner Morgan Burns. How's the other spot looking right now?
The other spot is, I'm pleased it's very competitive right now. And the improvement by both of them has been very positive. Nate Jackson and Danzel McDaniel, both are, as I said, very competitive, have shown immense improvement and steady improvement through the course of the spring. So it'll be, it'll continue to be competitive. I would expect it to be through the summer and early into the fall camp.
Coach, to follow up on the running backs, how would you gauge their improvement maybe relative to the other position groups that you have?
It has been steady, slow but steady, getting acclimated to things. All of a sudden they're thrown into, every day there's a little bit new experience, a different experience, and in most cases it's a new experience, for each one of them. Something more to grasp in our offense, something more to grasp in just the execution of the things that they do, and so that tempers the growth that they would have, but they have made progress, and it is steady. It's just, you'd like for it to go that way, and it's kind of going that way. So.
And then also, Andre Davis, I know you brought him up in the special teams aspect of things, but at wide receiver, how has he done?
He's again, kind of like the running backs. I mean, it's all a foreign language to him, but he's gaining and gaining. He's made improvement throughout the course of the spring. Again, not like that, but as you would expect from somebody that's new to the system.
Looking at your linebacker, has Mike Moore progressed from being that situational third down pass rusher to being a every down outside linebacker now?
He has, yes. I mean, still has, an awful lot of improvement to make, but he has, he's been reasonably consistent in the improvement that he's made and the knowledge that he has of our defense and being able to react to things in a reasonable fashion. So, yeah, he'll be capable of being a full-time player, I think.
And to go along with that, Will Davis in the middle, what kind of solidifying force could he provide for you guys?
Well, Will understands the defense, extremely well. I think he does just what you say. He has, or at least has the capacity to be able to tie things together between the front four and the second three. He's, we're just trying to get him to that spot where he can just turn it loose and go, but he's very, very knowledgeable about things and normally gets himself in the right position. But, the question is, how does he tie it all together? And I think that phase of it is getting better and better as we go.
And also, even the most experienced guys, Jonathan Truman, 13 starts a year ago, you always talk about there's still room to grow at the top there. Where do you see him right now, and what kind of potential does he have at that spot this season?
Well, John is kind of like Will with a great deal of experience, has a tremendous understanding of what our defense is about. Does a nice job, not just tying the second-level guys with the front four, but tying the entire defense together and tying the secondary into it as well. Provides good leadership, which is growing. I mean, he's become a more vocal, more demanding leader because he recognizes the need for that. He's a young guy that, he's a bright young guy who seldom makes a mistake. He's by and large, he's where you want him to be when you want him to be there.
Coach, observing what you have up to this point, are you happy with this, this team, so to speak, moving forward? Or maybe, after Saturday, you're looking forward to maybe some of the newcomers being some sort of a reinforcement heading into the fall?
When did I ever say I was happy?
I was asking if you were happy.
Well, the answer is the same as it always has been. No, I really would like for us to be collectively a better football team than we are right now, better in a lot of different areas. Have we progressed? I think so, but still, what do they say? Long ways to go, I guess. And that's factual. I mean, everybody accuses me of talking around the issue. I mean, I can't be any more, exacting. I mean, we just truly need to be a better football team.
And are there some pieces that might come in that you're looking at to?
Yes, I mean, we still have some young people that hopefully will be here in June that will need to get indoctrinated very quickly to what we do. That could have a decent impact on our progress. Yes.
With Daniel switching to wide receiver, how do you feel about the progress of your twos and threes at quarterback, and have either of them sort of taken, I guess, that next step to?
Well, it's really, it's going to be very competitive between the two that we've talked about. I thought that we scrimmaged a little bit yesterday, and John Hubner had a pretty nice day managing, the offense, throwing the football, moving around. But they're both still in the learning stages and have a ways to go.
And is Daniel still in the future possibly part of that mix there?
Well, I certainly wouldn't rule that out. He and I will sit down at the end of the spring and address it. But as I said, I told him we'd give him this opportunity, and I want to give him a fair shot at it.
Coach, I was curious if you could maybe update us a little bit on the progress that Luke Hayes has made, and maybe Bennett for that matter, and how you are feeling about the progress of the offensive line depth-wise.
Well, I think the offensive line depth is going to be concerned. We'll have a couple young guys coming in that might be able to assist with that. I think the two young guys that you mentioned have kind of plateaued. And a part of it is so much is thrust upon them, and they when you have that much to learn, you can embrace it fairly well, and then as you add on to that, pretty soon it becomes very expansive. Now all of a sudden their head's swimming, and so they're at the point where they've made some progress and fallen off, and they're plateauing, and the next step after that, when it'll all sink in, and then we'll go forward. Now that's going to have to take place in the summer because we don't have enough time left in the spring. But at some point in time, Luke in particular, has demonstrated that he has the capabilities. So he just has to be able to piece it all together.
Coach, I don't know how much you've paid attention to what other teams do during spring games, but some schools across the country have just decided not to have one anymore and just having that extra practice. Is that something that you would ever consider, or do you like having the spring game each spring?
Well, it's for our fan base. I mean, I prefer practices, but our fans enjoy seeing seeing our players and seeing the environment and coming for the auction and all those kind of things. So we'll always do it in that respect. For our fan base.
And then Ryan Mueller has said that he's kind of taken the younger guys under his wing, and especially walk-ons who've been in his same situation. What have you seen from him? Has he stepped up into that leadership role?
Well, I think he has attempted to, and I think has done a reasonably good job about it. It's kind of a new experience for him, so he gets out of kilter once in a while, but by and large he means well, and he really is trying to help younger guys in our program. What are you taking pictures of? What are you doing with that?
Videoing you. Trying to keep my hands.
For what? What would you do with that?
For our online site.
Go ahead. You can do whatever you want there. What else?
That's going to make some good This time a year ago, you held Trey out for precautionary reasons. Any players you suspect holding out on Saturday for the same medical reasons?
There's a possibility, and I really won't make that decision until we get, probably into Thursday or Friday. But there is a possibility.
About 10 or 20?
26.
26.
Coach, one position we haven't asked you about, I think, in the 3 weeks is tight end. We know a little bit about Zach Trujillo, maybe his improvement and the names and kind of guys that are developing behind him.
Zach is just of recent has really, I think, stepped up his performance in spring practice. Zach Nemechek, can fit into that role. Cody Small is a young guy that has some capabilities that's feeling his way around right now. Dayton Valentine is a young new player who we're reasonably impressed with right now in terms of what I mean. It's difficult because it's all new to him, but he's done some things that allow us to believe he's got a chance too.
A player maybe we haven't heard of this spring. I'm just curious about Kyle Klein and how he's doing.
Kyle's doing fine. A little inconsistent right now, but I think he'll work his way through that.
Still working with the receivers.
Still with the receivers.
Coach, you mentioned about how.
I love that voice.
Thank you. You mentioned on how you were looking forward to maybe some of the players coming in June, kind of filling gaps. How do you feel about Dalvin Warmack coming in and how he'll affect the competition going on at running back?
Yeah, I don't know how it'll affect the competition, but I'm anxious to see. And of course, that part of it, the summer program, for him will be one of those learning environments again, and we know that there'll be there's going to be a time lapse in terms of just understanding what it is that's going on, and but then when we get started in the fall, I think in August, hopefully he's got an awareness of responsibilities and assignments, etc. And then it'll be interesting. If he does that, if he picks it all up, then he has a possibility of making it interesting.
Coach, you've touched on the linebackers a little bit, but can you talk about Will Davis and what he brings to that middle linebacker spot?
Well, as I indicated, he's a bright young guy. He understands what he's responsible for. He's got a pretty decent understanding of what goes on around him. He kind of helps tie things together up front, as does John. John has a little more experience, a lot more experience there, so he's a little bit more ingrained in that. But Will is, I'm impressed because he's, he just has an understanding, about what he's supposed to do and how he's supposed to do it, and probably the next step for him, and he's in the process of it right now, is being able to turn it loose a little bit, so that he doesn't have to go through all that thought process, and that again just comes with experience, time on the job, so to speak.
You'd mentioned last week DeMarcus Robinson had been somewhat limited in what he could do. Is he more back into it now, or is he still...
Not as much as I would like, no. So it still is equally as limited as it was a week ago.
Can you just briefly go over your format for your spring game? Is it going to be one offense versus one defense? And
Haven't totally made up my mind yet in regards to that. The odds would be in favor of it being ones against twos, or ones against the rest. The number one offense and number two, or number one offense, number one defense being on the same unit, and it'll be game-like, just like we always have, regardless of which way we do it. There is a possibility that we could put our one offense on the same side as our number two defense, and vice versa the other way, possibility.
Coach, do you prefer having the spring game later on in the spring as opposed to a lot of other teams who've already kind of been done with their spring for weeks now?
Yeah, normally I do. You know, it really kind of depends. The value of it is that we have an extended period of time as far as our out-of-season program is concerned for guys to, you know, get stronger and faster and quicker and, you know, change the direction, become better, you know, all the, you know, physical aspect of it. But that's, you know, I think each year is different. It depends on what the needs are for, you know, for the players.
Any other questions?
You've been through this many times before, but when you walk out there in front of the fans, in front of the families, for a spring game, what runs through Bill Snyder's mind?
Well, I mean, people are very gracious now. As you know, I really do think about the fan base when I go onto the field when they're there, and they are there whenever we play. And it's just, you know, I think sometimes maybe not all the time, but sometimes I think, you know, how could you not, you know, as a player and as a coach, you know, want to do, you know, the very best you could possibly do for the people that care so much. And, you know, you think about the little children that line the walkway going out of the locker room, and, you know, when you see those youngsters and you know how emphatic they are in their appreciation for the players when they come out. And, you know, and to me that has to be inspiring for a young guy, and I think about those things. Probably always also think about if we're ready to play or not. That's part of it. So.
You talked about preferring practice to a spring game, but are there advantages to having the setting with the fans and sort of maybe seeing how they do under the lights?
Well,
so to speak?
definitely, because, you know, you have a lot of young guys, or a few young guys in the program right now that have never really experienced that, at least not here and with the larger groups. And you have the opportunity. I mean, part of the part of the day is to develop an understanding about game day, you know. So, I mean, everything we do on Saturday will be a replica of what we would do any Saturday next fall. Trying to, you know, duplicate the meetings and the pregame meals and, you know, all that goes along with it, the mental preparation, the focus, and it's, you know, it isn't the same, but we try very diligently to make it the same.